if serious conversations with your woman always end up in an argument, you're not an effective communicator. You have to understand that before you move forward. You have to accept that you're not an effective communicator. You also have to understand that women want a man who can listen as well as he speaks. A lot of times we can say this, we can say that, we can write poetry, we can articulate our words so well. But one thing that we don't do is we don't take the time to listen. And like the old saying goes, we have 2 ears to listen and 1 mouth to speak. It's important to remember this, because if your woman cannot talk to you, or she doesn't feel comfortable talking to you, or she believes and feels that you're not listening to her and she's not being heard, she may look elsewhere. That's important to understand that. That is that possibility. You may be wondering, I communicated well with people in the past. I communicate well with people in my career, my job, women in the past. You may be thinking like, well, if that's the case, maybe it's her. Well, I want you to take a step back and think about something. The way you communicate with your woman is going to be totally different than how you communicate with people at your job or your career. Let's be honest and face the facts. The other thing, when it comes to women in your past that you may have communicated with very effectively, no arguments or minimal arguments, another thing you have to consider, all women are different. Not every woman is the same. So the way she wants you to communicate to her may have been totally different from how you communicated with the woman in the past. Another thing you have to think about is maybe, just maybe, the women in the past wasn't on that deep connection with you to where they even cared about what you said. But your woman that you're with now actually does care and wants the relationship to grow. So that's something I want you guys to think about as well. So you may be wondering, okay, I know that I have to be an effective communicator. What exactly do I do? Well, I'm gonna tell you, there's 3 tips that I want you guys to take away from this video that's going to help you really be more an effective communicator in your relationship, in your marriage, or the women you're talking to. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to give you a bonus tip. So the first tip is listen with a purpose, because let's face it, when we listen to somebody talk, we're not trying to listen with a purpose. We're trying to listen so we can respond. We're trying to formulate in our head what we're going to say next, how they're saying, what they're talking about. We may not even be listening to them at all and just be thinking about other things. But when you listen with a purpose in your relationship, you listen for understanding. You listen to see exactly what your woman is trying to tell you, what she's trying to get across. Don't just hear her, actually listen. Listen with a purpose, because now you're starting to hear, okay, she said this, she said that. Maybe you go somewhere and she pointed something else nice that she would like, or she pointed out something that she would like to do, or hell, let's say for instance, she says, hey, I would like to get this on my birthday, or just something random she says that she likes or wants. Some weeks go by, you remember what she said and you gift that to her. And now she's thinking he actually was listening, because I'm telling you, a lot of times women tell you guys things and you're not listening, and they keep tally. Not all women, but some women keep tally, because when you actually gift her something, or you give her something that she's like, okay, I remember telling him that about 2 weeks ago. I thought he forgot. But then you actually get it to her, or you gift her with it, makes a huge difference. And I'm talking about women that you're actually in a serious relationship with, not that you're dating. So please understand that. The second tip is do not blame, because as soon as you blame the woman, what happens is you send her in a fight or flight mode. What that means is whatever you say afterwards, after you blame her and you say it's your fault, let me point it out to you, let me paint a picture, let me show you logic. As soon as you do that, she's already going to turn off her thinking. She's not going to think about what you're saying. You're already put her in defensive mode. And you're just not going to win. You're not going to get your point across. You're not going to win. And it's just going to be a cycle of you always arguing, not getting to the point, not understanding each person's point of view. And it's going to keep you stuck. So make sure, no matter what, even if it is her fault, don't point the finger and don't do the blame game. It makes you look weak as a man, just to be honest with you. So stop the blaming. And one thing I want to add to that is whenever you blame, it takes you away from understanding her point of view. Everybody has their paradigm. I talked about this in one of my YouTube shorts and one of my Instagram reels. Everybody has a paradigm on how they see the world, how they were raised, their experiences. And if you don't understand somebody else's paradigm, that puts you in a position to where you're not even showing that you care about where they're coming from or their point of view. But the more you actually try to understand where they're coming from and their point of view, it sets you apart from a lot of the men, but it also makes her open up to you more, and it proves that you're actually listening instead of blaming. The third tip is you want to validate her words, not her. You're not trying to kiss her ass. You're validating her words to show that you actually understand what she's saying. You get where she's coming from, because a lot of times women just want to be heard. They don't want you to fix it. I understand a lot of us like to fix things. We're logical, but you have to understand when it comes to some women, they just want you to listen. They just want to be heard. And the more that you're listening to them, the more that you're not judging them and you actually validate what they're saying. Like, hey, I hear that you're saying this. I hear that you're saying that. That shows to her like, okay, he's actually listening to me. He actually gives a fuck about what I'm saying. And that's another important tip to realize and understand and to incorporate into your conversations. Now, the bonus tip is co-created solutions. Now, co-created solution is where you take your ideas, you take her ideas, you come together and you say, hey, look, I think this will be best for us. What do you think about this? What's your point of view? Because the more you incorporate and you add her into that conversation and into that solution, that shows great leadership, but it also shows that you're listening, you're considerate, you're validating what she's saying, and she feels important. And the more you make a woman feel important, the more you make her feel validated, the more you make her feel like you're listening and you're actually doing those things, the more you're going to win. And I don't mean winning the conversation, winning the argument. What I mean by that is you're both going to win. You're both going to win this conversation. It's going to start to make sense for the both of you. You start to understand the language patterns. You start to understand how you both communicate. And when she understands how you communicate, you understand how she communicates, it makes it that much easier to make decisions, especially when there's serious conversations that you don't want to end up in an argument. Keep that in mind, guys. And one thing I want you guys to remember before I end this video is similarities are what brought you guys together. That's what brought you guys together. But differences is going to force you to grow. If you want to be in a good relationship and you want that relationship to grow, be willing to accept the differences and grow through them. Other than that, this has been a video brought to you. My name is Saul Palmer, and this video was about communicating more effectively in a relationship and how to avoid and work around those arguments. You guys have a good one.